Welcome. Thank y'all for joining us tonight. My name is Michael. I'm one of the advisors here at Crescent City Retirement Group, and tonight I would like to talk to you about tax planning. I know, taxes is the most wonderful conversation in the world, but unfortunately it is a reality that everyone goes through. So, that's the thing we're going to be talking tonight. It also happens to be one of our 5 keys. So, to recap our 5 keys before I get into the tax planning is enhanced planning, investment strategy, income planning, healthcare planning, and tax planning. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing is, do you believe that taxes are likely to go up or to go down in the near future? If you're tuning into this, more than likely you're concerned that they are going to go up. And let me just be honest with you, I think that they will too. There's only a few things that are going to happen with taxes in order to get out of the debt that we have, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, is you have to cut spending or you have to raise income. Well, the government's not great about cutting spending, so taxes more than likely will be raised in the future. So that is something that you should keep in mind and prepare for. What is the best way that you can do that? And that's some of the things that we will talk about. If you're, again, interested in taxes, that's what we're talking about tonight. If you're interested in something else, feel free to call our office at 504-828-2171, and we'll be happy to schedule a consultation with you to discuss other type of retirement needs for you. Also, I want to point out that this is not about politics. It doesn't matter what your political opinion is, whether you're on the left or you're on the right or you're in the middle or somewhere in between. It doesn't matter the political party. What does matter is the fact that taxes will likely go up, and so you need to have the best strategy that you can so that we can best have your retirement without it being jeopardized or paying too much taxes on the front or the back end. So let's talk about government spending right now. As of January 30th, 2024, the national debt was up to $34 trillion. Trillion with a T. That's a lot of money. That's more money than any of us can even dream about. Well, maybe we can dream about it, but it's more money than any of us will actually see in our lifetime. So what's the cause of this? Well, some of the reasons is rising interest rates and debt that's accumulated by the U.S. government that's just been building and building and building. Another reason is people are living longer, which means these government programs, specifically the major healthcare programs like Social Security, Medicare, they're having to pay out more and more for a longer period of time because people are living longer. So it's just a multitude of things that are adding together to cause this level of debt. So to put it into perspective, here's an example for you. So how much is $1 trillion? Okay, now again, we're talking about $34 trillion, but to give you an example, so if you were to stack one bill on top of each other, $1 billion would equal 68 miles high, okay? If you were to put $1 trillion on top of it, that is 67,866 miles high. That's into space. Like that's ridiculous how much it is. If you were to lay them side by side or end to end, that 1 billion would cover 96,000 miles long, which is 4 times around the Earth, and 1 trillion would cover 96,906,000 miles higher. That's further than the Earth is to the Sun. That's just blows my mind of how much 1 trillion is. And again, we're not talking about one, we're talking about $34 trillion. So, what is the trend for government spending? Well, one thing that we know for sure is it's just going to keep increasing. Again, there are certain costs that are affecting it. Social Security, Medicare, people living longer. Plus, we have a high amount of debt, so that means we have to keep up with the interest payments. So there's a whole bunch of things that the government's spending on, but you know what they're not doing? Again, they're not cutting expenses because there's only so much that they can do with that. There's a lot more I think that they can do, but again, beside the point, we're not going to talk about politics here. So earlier I said, I asked you whether you thought taxes were going to go up or go down. Well, if you guess that they're go up, guess what? You win. Well, Actually, you don't win because we all lose when taxes go up, but you win that question. So let's look at a graph that shows the historical top tax rates, okay? Now, this graph shows from 1913 to 2018. They haven't updated it the last couple years, but this kind of gives you a picture. So as you can see, there are certain spots in history where historically taxes have been higher. And you can kind of pinpoint what those are. So for example, around 1913 to 1960, guess what? That was World War I. 1944, World War II. 50s, 60s, and 70s. Well, we had the Korean War, the Vietnam War, kept going. There was a little tax break in the 80s, the good old Reaganomics. And then come the 2000s, well, that became the new branches of, the new wars that we've been dealing with. Desert Storm, Operation Iraqi Freedom, etc. You name it, that's causing taxes to be up. So as of right now, the highest tax rate available is 40%. That is ridiculous. Now, it's been higher than that before, but that's still ridiculous amount of money. So what can you do about it? Well, here's what we know, and then we'll go from there. So we know that the current tax rates will be in effect until the end of 2025. We know that because that was the Tax Rate and Job Act, or the Tax Rate Act that came out in 2017. But at the end of 2025, they are, unless there's a vote, they're projected to go back to the rates that they were before. Now this slide shows that, where right now we have the 10 to 12, 22, 24, and so on. This is going to go from 10 to 15 to 25 and 28 and up. Okay, so what can we do? Well, the only one number that really matters is your retirement income. So how can you maximize your income and minimize your taxes? There's a few things that we can do, and that's actually what we're going to be talking about tonight. So what do I do? You decide if you think your tax will go up or down. I think we've already answered that one. And the next thing is you do what's called harnessing the power of when. So what does the harnessing the power of when mean? Well, none of us can get out of paying taxes. There's only two things certain in the world, death and taxes. So one will come before the other. But instead of choosing whether or not we can pay taxes, we can choose when we pay the taxes. So what do I mean by that? Well, here's an example, okay? You have different products and accounts. You have what's called a tax now bucket, and you have what's called a tax later bucket. A tax now bucket is things that you're currently earning if you're earning a wage. So you make X amount, gross amount, they take out federal, state tax return, withholding, they take out Social Security, Medicare, and then what you receive is your net paycheck. That's taxed now. That money goes into your bank and you can do whatever you want to with it. You can spend money, you can invest it, you can do a lot of different things with it. Tax later, this is going to be like your 401k, your 403b, or any employer-sponsored plan. This is money you're putting aside for later, but you're not paying taxes on that right now. You're going to pay taxes later. So that's what I mean by those two buckets. However, you're kicking the tax bucket down the road the more you put into the 401k, because we're eventually going to have to pay taxes on all that money. With that said, that doesn't mean it's a bad idea to put into a 401k. You absolutely should put into the 401k, especially if your employer's matching it. But you can just be a little tax efficient about the way we handle it. So, what is there another option? Well, we do have a third option here, and that's a tax-free bucket. Now, a tax-free bucket is going to consist of a Roth IRA, possibly some life insurance, paying taxes up front for some things. There are a couple different investment accounts that you can invest in that are using after-tax money or tax now money to fund tax-free money in the future. So, with harnessing the power of when, we want to do that. So tax diversification gives you flexibility and control to minimize taxes. It gives you the ability to guard against future tax increases, and more certainty when planning your retirement income. So tax now, tax later, tax free. So first, let's talk about how tax diversification can give you flexibility and control. So here's a scenario. We're going to use Emma. She's age 70 and her total income is $24,000 Social Security. She's also got a $13,000 pension. So a little bit over $1,000 a month for her pension. So total income is $37,000 with no taxes on her Social Security. She's also falling under the standard deduction, so she's not going to owe any taxes, all right? But let's say Emma needs some repairs done on her house. She has a traditional IRA. So she draws $20,000 because she needs $15,000 for a new roof. Well, guess what? The IRS sees this withdrawal as taxable income, which means not only was she not paying taxes before, but now her Social Security will be taxed because she pulled out this additional money, okay? But if she had a different investment strategy or a tax-free pool of money she could draw from, it might have been different, which leads us to scenario 2. So scenario 2, same $24,000 Social Security, $13,000 pension, but now that same $15,000 she needs for a roof, she pulls from a couple of different spots. Roth IRA, tax-free money. Maybe she's drawing off of pulling cash buildup in her Index Universal Life Plan, tax-free money. Maybe she's drawing a loan off of her Index Universal Life Plan. That's also tax-free. That just comes off the death benefit. So there's a couple different things that she could have done in this scenario, and guess what? She didn't draw any more taxable income, but she still got the $15,000. So, what are the differences between the scenario 1 and scenario 2? Well, scenario 1, she withdrew the money from an IRA, which means she has to pay more taxes now because she had to draw out more money than the 15 just to cover the taxes. Scenario 2, she got a loan from her IUL, Index Universal Life, or her Roth IRA, or another form of tax-free money that she had. And guess what? There's no new taxes for Emma. So, in your opinion, which one would be better? So now, let's look how tax diversification can guard against future tax increases. Okay, so here's another hypothetical scenario for you. So Jeremy, let's say he's age 40. He's currently in the 15% tax bracket, or that's the tax bracket that we're projecting. He's putting in money, $5,000 a year for 25 years into his traditional IRA. Okay, and he's getting about a 6% rate of return. So at age 65, with these numbers, he has $290,000 in his IRA, but he wants to start withdrawing the money at age 70 and should last for a good 20 years. Okay, all right. So in this scenario, there's only 3 possibilities. Taxes can stay the same, they can go up, or they can go down. More than likely, they're not going to go down, but let's just play this out, okay? So let's say that taxes go up, first one. So taxes go up. Well, guess what? Jeremy leaves his money in traditional IRA. At age 70, he's accumulated $389,000. This is based off the 6% return and the $5,000 he put in. So an annual withdrawals of, say, $32,500 a year, that means that he's now in paying taxes at a 25% tax rate, and he will have paid $160,000 in taxes, but he's received $480,000 of net income from age 70 to age 90. Now, let's see what it would look like if he had done a Roth conversion. So, Jeremy converts his traditional IRA from age 65 to age 70. Current required minimum distribution age right now is 73, so he has a little bit of window in there. So let's say he uses his Roth to pay the taxes, and he moves over the money from his traditional IRA into his Roth account. He's got to pay taxes on it because it counts taxable income. But now, at age 70, he has $330,000 in his account. So it's less than what his IRA was a while ago. But all this money is now tax-free. Same withdrawals, except he now doesn't have to factor in taxes. So he can actually withdraw less money. So for the same net, he's withdrawing less money, say $27,000 a year instead of the $32,000. At age 90, Jeremy has now paid $58,000 in taxes, and he's received $544,000 in income. Same strategy, just difference is within a small window between age 65 to 70, he converted all of that into a Roth IRA. Now, what's another thing that we can look at here? So let's compare the two side by side. So traditional IRA example, Jeremy at age 90 paid $160,000 worth of taxes, and he received $480,000 worth of income. On the Roth side of it, he paid $58,000 worth of taxes, and he received $544,000 worth of income. In my mind, I would choose option B, doing the Roth. Pay the taxes up front, let it grow tax-free, and now you have more money in the future, and you're paying less taxes in the future. So, back to the question, what would Jeremy do? Taxes stay the same, taxes go up, or taxes go down? Well, again, there's only three possibilities. Those are the three right there. So, nothing is ever set in stone. Tax laws change all the time. The required minimum distribution age right now is 73. It's projected to go up to 75 in the year 2033. But guess what? It's also changed 4 other times in the last decade. So, there's nothing set in stone on the required minimum distributions. What is set in stone is the fact that taxes will always be there. That's just part of life. So, what can we do about it? Well, we've talked about a couple of different options. We've talked about we can do transfer to a Roth IRA. We can also do what's called funding the Index Universal Life Plan, or a different type of life insurance. This way you can use qualified money to pay for this plan. So it's little increments every single year. And guess what? That's tax-free money for you to draw from the cash balance, and tax-free money that will pass on to your beneficiaries. So there's a couple different things that you can do. Here are some more diversification that can give you some certainty. So one, if you don't have to worry about taxes, you can feel more confident knowing you have access to tax-free income in retirement, even if the government spending increases, and it probably will. Also, you can have more certainty when planning, because if you have all this money in a tax-free account and you don't need it, you don't have to draw it. But if you do need it, it's there for you and you don't have to pay taxes on it. Versus keeping it all in a traditional IRA or 401k. Required minimum distribution time comes around, you got to take that money regardless. Whether you need it or not, you have to take it. And that could spike your income. And it could also affect your Social Security benefits and Medicare benefits. Okay, so here's a list of questions that we think will help you. And these are something that we would love to talk to you about in person. So feel free, you can call our office, schedule an appointment. We can be reached at 504-828-2171. Or you can also just submit a free consultation request on the same website that you used to set up for this webinar. So here's the questions. How can I build a tax-efficient distribution strategy in retirement? What are RMDs and how can they affect my tax strategy? And what are the most tax-efficient assets to pass on to my heirs? So those are some tax questions. Again, tax planning is just one of our 5 keys that we have talked about. That's one of our firm philosophy and what we practice here. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. Again, you can contact our office today to schedule an appointment. It's a free consultation. It won't cost you anything, just to get a second opinion and get more information for you. Thank you. I appreciate you being here today.